Hi, my name is Daniel Foley Carter. This is episode 2 of the SEO Audit Show, and today I have the legendary Steve Toth, author of SEOnotebook.com, and today we're going to talk about a couple of different things in SEO, namely chatGPT, and also automation and tools within SEO, and then we'll probably have a little bit of banter about some different things, because as with anything in the SEO world, there's so many different things to talk about. So, hi, Steve.
Hey, thanks for having me, Daniel.
No worries, no worries. Great to catch up with you. So I guess where we can start is we can start talking about, obviously, and just before I go in, every so often you'll see me do that. I brought a 4K web camera, and it has this distinct problem of autofocus. So, like right now, I'm blurred, so I have to cover it and then move back, and even now it's still not doing it. So it might look blurred through some of the podcasts. So maybe, obviously, most people that watch this will know who you are, but do you just want to say a couple of words about you, your experience, background, any key things that you think people that are fairly new to SEO should know about you?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in SEO since about 2010, so been able to see a pretty good evolution of the industry. Not as much as some people, but I think more than most. I spent a number of years working at agencies. Then probably most notably at FreshBooks, grew the traffic there to 50,000 clicks per day. And also ranked #1 for multiple 300,000 search keywords, with a decent CPC. So I did well at FreshBooks, turned them into one of my clients when I became a consultant, and have been a full-time SEO consultant since early 2020, just before COVID actually is when I started. Right now I service clients mainly in SaaS and work on some of my own projects as well, software included.
And you've got SEOnotebook.com, which you've been working on that.
I'm pretty bad at promoting myself and remembering my different things. But yes, I have a newsletter called SEOnotebook.com, which has 15,000 subscribers. Email one tip every week to that list, and really enjoy doing that.
That's fantastic. When did you start SEO Notebook?
Summer of 2019. So I was still a full-time employee when I started that.
Where did the idea come from?
It came out of necessity, to be honest. I would have different ideas, theories, things I wanted to test like the next day, and I just really wasn't very organized with it. I might slack myself something to try the next day, or I might read something on LinkedIn or read something on Facebook that I wanted to try out. And I didn't really have a central consolidated place to really put any of that information. So I just decided to get Evernote at the time. I use Notion now, but at the time it was Evernote. And the next day, after realizing what a benefit this would be to me, I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I sent out, one note per week out of my notebook? And that's how it started.
That's fantastic. The funny thing is, I think a lot of SEOs watching this will probably understand to a degree. When you're an SEO and you love what you do, you have what's called a beehive mind. So in your head, because you know that you can get stuff to rank, the world is open to you. So you can be an SEO consultant, you can run affiliate sites, you can do SEO training, you can do SEO videos on YouTube or newsletters. And I think a lot of people will resonate with the fact that when you're an SEO and you've got all these things, there's only so many hours in the day, right? So like you've obviously gained some real traction with SEO Notebook.com, and 15,000 subs is amazing. I feel bad because here I am in 2023, and I think I've just literally started using GetResponse, and I think I've got like 100 people signed up for a newsletter, and it's always one of those things. My SEO strategy used to be rank #1 in Google for anything that you offered, so like SEO services, SEO consultant. Then my idea about ranking changed because the leads that I got from it were really bad quality. It was like just endless leads of people that want to spend £500 a month. So I then thought, well, all of the people that make decisions on SEO are on LinkedIn. Hey, let's focus on LinkedIn. And I've been absolutely obsessed over the last year posting SEO tips on LinkedIn. In terms of emails, so because obviously, a lot of people still read emails, get weekly newsletters. Do you find that it generates a good amount of footfall to the website?
Yeah, definitely. So that's probably where the majority of my leads come from. I would say probably about 60% through the email newsletter, and then probably about 40% through LinkedIn when I decide to be more active. Sometimes I just take a break because I'm busy and I don't have the capacity to handle more leads. But if I do want to go after LinkedIn, I usually go just one post per week, but make sure that it's a really valuable post and that that people can benefit from that. And then you've seen it before. You get like 80,000 impressions, 100,000 impressions, or even more. You even though your conversion rate is crap, you'll still get like a couple leads out of a big post like that.
Well, I think this is the thing as well, right? So that, and I think, anyone sort of fairly junior into the SEO industry, most higher value consultants or most larger agencies don't do SEO for themselves. So in 2007, when I launched Assertive, well, it used to be called Assertive Media, it's now called Assertive, and I was absolutely hell-bent on ranking #1 for SEO agency. So by 2012, I was #1 for SEO agency, and I kept that all the way until around 2018, and then, we nosedived and vanished. The thing is that when I look at the amount of time and effort that I spent to rank versus the quality of the leads that I got back from it, when we lost our rank, I panicked because we didn't have any other way of getting new business. We just used to get the odd inquiry through organic, and that kept us going. But then, the agency lost ground, and there's an important topic actually that I'd probably bring up, and that's if you've ranked #1 for something for 5, 6, 7 years and you lose rank, recovering it is like extremely difficult, and I'll go into that in a bit. But then I set my SEO consultancy site up, and I got that to #1 in Google for SEO consultant, and holds same thing as when I ranked for SEO agency. Really, really bad quality leads. So looking at the LinkedIn strategy, LinkedIn was the best thing that I ever did. And I'm in the SEO Facebook groups. I'm in a few different SEO Facebook groups. And I see people posting in there and talking about the problems that they have. When you look at the LinkedIn SEO community and the Facebook SEO community, what differences do you feel there are between those communities in terms of like building awareness and
pretty big. I've only gotten one quality lead from Facebook in time. Yeah. I don't actually do Facebook for lead generation purposes. I just do it for fun, right? So I share personal side, I share stuff about my daughter, about different musings that I have or my music tastes or whatever. So I don't look at Facebook as an acquisition play at all. If anything, I just look at it to help me grow my email list. So, that's pretty much how I approach that.
See, I think the key difference is that for me was like, I think Facebook from an SEO perspective is generally more people in the SEO community that are together in the Facebook group asking questions to support one another. Whereas I feel that LinkedIn is more of a place where you go to air your expertise, and there will be people in the distance watching. And then because quite a lot of the leads that I've had, it's always been the statement that they've made. I've had you on LinkedIn for a long time. I see the stuff that you post, so you clearly know your thing. And I think that for me just prompted me to put Facebook at the forefront of things. But I think and it's like I've just crossed the 50k follower mark on LinkedIn, and I'm like really over the moon with that. I'd love obviously to give more to the community, and I think one other point, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I used to think, right, so I've built up my own SEO processes, I've spent years doing SEO testing, and then I thought one day, why don't I just share that information with everyone? Why don't I just give loads of tips, get in depth, share as much as I can. And I'd spoken to people in the past and said, yeah, but Dan, why would you go on there and tell everyone your secrets so they can go off and do it themselves? And I thought, but it doesn't work like that. You might get people copy what you do and go in, but businesses that see that you're really like, know what you're talking about, and you give something that's different from the usual stuff, that makes you stand out. So even if you're telling people how to do it, most businesses aren't going to go away and do that. They will still want you to go and do it. What do you think about something like that?
Absolutely. So what you end up doing when you do that is you build up a level of reciprocity with your audience, and then you've got to let that same audience, and when you give away at scale, you're not just giving away your secrets to one person in a one-on-one chat, which is not going to do anything for you. You're giving it away in a very public way. You're building up that reciprocity between you and that audience. And then it's just up to you to let that audience know how they can help you, right? So maybe they follow you on LinkedIn, or they subscribe to your YouTube channel, or what have you. And then you'll inevitably get leads from that. There's a book called The Go Giver, which I'm big on. I think you've probably heard me talk about it. It's a really good one, and what you're basically describing is what the book espouses.
Oh, really? I mean, the thing is that it actually now makes me really happy when I put something out there and I know it genuinely helps other people of the SEO community further develop their skills. I mean, one of the things that I embarked on a year ago was I kickstarted doing SEO webinars, and you could argue, yeah, I'm charging for them. I do a lot of charity work, so I donate a lot of proceeds to charity. But I think it's also the fact that I go as far as I can to give maximum value by in a 5-hour webinar, I will literally share my screen and just show people processes that could save them a lot of time, and we'll jump to the automation part. But I think when people are trying to learn SEO and develop a skill, it's very easy for them to get misled. So for example, there are big names in our industry that a lot of people know. So obviously you've got people at Google's side, you've got recognised people. So obviously you had Ram Fishkin, Danny Sullivan. Years ago you had Matt Cutts, you got Neil Patel and Brian Dean. And the thing is, it's like, people learning SEO now will generally go a fairly similar route. I think a lot of people learning SEO will, perhaps some of them will go through Udemy for the courses. Some of them will go through the Moz, because Moz has got a pretty extensive SEO guide. And then you've got SEMrush that has like educational articles on learning SEO. But I think people still really get stuck with SEO because a lot of people come into the industry and you can see it in the Facebook groups of the stuff that people ask. And I feel like the actual education out there for SEO isn't that great. I feel like a lot of people read articles like Neil Patel. I've got no problem with him. He's a very intelligent guy. He's done very well with his businesses. Utmost respect to him. But the problem that I had was that he would do videos that would basically say, do these 5 things. It's really easy, and he would make SEO look really easy. And what would happen? People come into SEO and they're like learning how to write a blog article, how to set header tags, title tags, but they were under a misapprehension that they would follow this 5-minute video and then all their content would rank.
Yeah,
so,
true.
With the webinars, what I try to instill on people is understand the methodology. Don't repeat a process, because as well as I do, SEO 10 years ago is not the same as it is now. And if you tell people to do arbitrary things when SEO is changing, I don't think that works. Just out of interest, what was your sort of biggest steps in learning and building your SEO expertise?
It was probably around 2018 where I think I started to really go in the direction of being more advanced and looking at things with a more strategic lens, a more sensible lens, and also being able to prioritize what actions I was going to take on a website first. One of my big influences was Kyle Roof when he ranked Rhinoplasty Plano with Latin text. That was a big eye-opener for me. and I actually studied pretty much everything that he did, like very, very closely. And that was
Yeah.
one of the things that helped me rank FreshBooks invoice templates number one. So that was a big sort of change. And also that those 2 years when I was at FreshBooks, I hired a lot of consultants and people that I respected and learned directly from them, and then was able to take, that type of thinking and their mindset and, apply it and expand upon that and really grow my own practice. And, I was still like always very intensely passionate about SEO, going back to 2010 and subsequent years. But I wouldn't say that when I was working at an agency, working on, $500 to $1,000 a month clients, that I was doing anything meaningful. It wasn't
Yeah.
really until I had the opportunity at FreshBooks to work on, a legit major site that had a ton of potential. And, we took that from 9,000 clicks a month to 50,000 clicks a day.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I mean, the thing is as well is like it's so cheap, quick, and easy now to buy and set up, get a domain, set up a WordPress instance, and just start putting something together and playing with it, because and the thing is that I do take pot shots on LinkedIn. I don't take pot shots at like SEMrush because it's not good. SEMrush is an amazing platform. Ahrefs is an amazing platform. Majestic's an amazing platform. But I think what's happening is that if you take SEO is like a really specialist skill. When you put people out there that do videos that make SEO look like it's a piece of cake, and then you have people that say I'm an SEO specialist because they know how to log into SEMrush and add a project and then export the data. What I try and teach people is that there are hundreds of factors in Google that all interconnect at different places in different weights by device, location, personalization. So I'm always of the opinion that no one really has the answer in SEO. Like, we can apply best practice, but it will always come down to a degree of luck. So, I've seen people that aren't good SEOs achieve good results. I've seen people that, you can clearly see that they're really analytical and they understand the data that they're looking at. And I've seen them do badly because, maybe they didn't have enough budget for links or the client was really bad at implementing. I think out of all of it, the biggest thing that I ever push on people, especially in the webinars, is SEO testing is like my mantra. If someone says to me, Dan, I want to rank for this, I say, okay, well, I can't guarantee that I'll be able to get it to rank. But what I'll do is I'll start testing and finding out what works. And following an ERP, easily repeatable process for some, I then identify which factors seem to apply to that site. And then I repeat those and I keep doing it until I get rank. And that is one of the things, that's one of the reasons why I set up SEO Stack. What would be really good actually, because in terms of like ChatGPT, which is all the rage now, what are your opinions on the potential risk that plays in terms of replacing SEOs? Do you think SEOs are at risk? What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't think that everybody's talking about, well, is ChatGPT going to replace SEO, period? And I think it's important to remind ourselves that we are in a very small echo chamber, comparatively with the rest of the world, and that 99.9% of people who click on ads, i.e. the people who pay Google's bills, don't even know that ChatGPT exists, right? But then, from the other perspective of like actual SEO, and do I have a VA create schema for me? Do I have articles being created by writers and all those things? AI, especially with GPT-3 models and beyond in the future, those all do pose not a threat per se to those people who were doing that, but it should make those people more efficient and maybe ultimately lead to fewer of those people being hired. So it is a threat to a degree for the unskilled SEO who is just doing that easily repeatable process. I think what I'm looking at is the people I work with, that their productivity should be accelerated due to things like GPT-3.
I do that all the time. I get tongue-tied on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because do you know what I liken ChatGPT to? I liken it to the modern shop, where you go into a shop now and most of the manned cashiers are all disappearing. So years ago there was no self-service machines, and you've got Amazon that have got that walk-in shop in London where it bills you based on what you take off the shelf. There's no people there.
Yeah.
And that's improving society because it reduces the slowdown of checkouts and all the rest of it. But then fundamentally that's taken away people's jobs. So I think maybe from ChatGPT's point of view, what you said is, a very good point. Improving efficiency, perhaps reducing cost.
Because I think I even had a client who's fairly savvy, and we were talking about ChatGPT, and he's like, "So you guys should be able to produce double the amount of briefs this month, huh?" I think people are all wising up to this.
I mean,
that's true to a degree if we change the type of briefs that we're doing. But yeah, I do look at it that way, is that we should all become more efficient, due to this, and that if you're not using it, I think, you're going to get left behind, basically. I think. I
did a LinkedIn post the other day, right? And it was a LinkedIn post about JavaScript browser extensions, browser bookmarks, and I used ChatGPT to write all of the scripts, tested them, and then I put them into a LinkedIn post.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, and obviously, I've been developing SEO Stack, and I've been using ChatGPT to explain code to me so that I could better understand what the developers are doing, and it's mind blowing. And I saw a graphic the other day that said about the parameters for GPT-3 and then GPT-4, and it was like GPT-4 was like 175 trillion parameters or something. So it's scary because obviously, if you go from ChatGPT-3 to 4, and given the capabilities of 3, if 4 comes along, then I seriously don't understand where the gap is going to be between content that's being output by it, and then by Google's own AI being able to say, this is AI content. Because one of the interesting points, and I think it was Alida Solis that, if I pronounce her name right, that post, and it was a snippet. I think it was her. I'm not sure. It was a snippet from Google Webmaster Guidelines, or what they call it now.
Yeah.
And it was saying about AI content. If it's not used for search,
not just created for search results, created for SEO. Yeah.
So what they're indirectly saying is that actually AI content, that's been created properly is okay, effectively. So someone spat out an AI article, and I think Bankrate have done it, and I think CNET has done it. So now what they'll do is spit out an article, and then a human writer will skim over it to make sure that it's correct. And, where do you draw the line? Where are we going to draw the line? Because if AI sits on Google's side evaluating results, and then AI is producing the content, you've got AI going head to head, right? And if the content being produced by AI is genuinely good for the end user and helpful, would you penalise that?
Yeah. The only thing that I think that I wonder about is Google's ability to index all this content. and the people who are abusing this and just going after, like, creating multi-hundred or even 1,000-page websites in less than a week, like those are, I think, ripe for even just not getting indexed, period. So I think that, I still am a little bit cautious when Google comes out and says, hey, it doesn't matter if AI wrote your content as long as it's helpful for the searcher and not specifically just written for SEO purposes. The clients that I work with, we still work with real writers. But at the same time, I would expect those real writers to, utilize AI if it's not just briefing your articles or suggesting some entities to create or helping with creating the schema after that article is done, things like that.
And that's a really interesting point, because people talk about ChatGPT as if it's an SEO tool, when in reality it's for everyone. Anyone can ask it anything and get something. So, but then if writers aren't SEOs, how would a writer self-develop their skills and think, I'll use ChatGPT? Like, what is a typical writer's exposure to stuff like this? You know what I mean? Like, in the SEO community, anyone that hears about a Google update or a feature, it's all over the place and people pick it up quickly. But if you're a writer, you're not actively in the SEO community, do you think ChatGPT will travel far enough for writers to pick that up?
Well, if I'm briefing writers now, I'm saying something like, let's put in the content that you just wrote and let's ask ChatGPT to write that in an NLP friendly way, right? So suddenly that question of, like, if, for example, it's like, who's the world's tallest basketball player? ChatGPT in an NLP friendly way is going to write something like, the world's tallest basketball player is, right? So you can use that just by virtue of asking it, hey, write this in an NLP friendly way. Use that as a way to train the writer, right, and how they should be answering questions when they create content.
I think another interesting point, right, was, so we're going for a crazy time at the minute. So I have, because obviously I launched SEO Audits IO, and I've been doing audits left, right, and centre. And the common theme that I'm really, really seeing now, and it's got really intense, is the way Google is massively throttling how much content it indexes, like, shockingly. So that's why, and I did take a pot shot, because on LinkedIn and Facebook, you're always going to have different groups of people that have their own opinion, and there's one group of people that will go out and say, you need to be smashing out content, constantly pushing out content. If you keep writing articles, don't worry, the traffic will come. And I'm sat there thinking, I'm auditing large content publications, right, that have been paying people to write content, right? And all of this stuff is going into called currently not indexed, discovered currently not indexed, and then it sits there. And I think there was a large tech publication that I did an audit on, and I literally, the top 1,000 URLs that I exported, 900 of them were actual articles that had been published, and some of them were more than a year old and had no index. And I was thinking, so these guys are paying out for all of these writers, and no one is realizing that Google is not indexing this content. So if ChatGPT is speeding up the content curation and creation process, so people can rapidly speed up how much content they put out, and then Google is massively reducing how much content it indexes, is that not going to lead to a snowball effect of people wasting time?
Yeah, like if everybody's using ChatGPT to create an article about best mortgage rates, and then everybody's article ends up being the same thing because ChatGPT spits out the thing, then that's also a huge problem, right? And then that's an easy way for Google to identify whether or not something was, just written for search engines, right? Which is what they are against, right?
Yeah.
So, and never even mind low quality content not getting indexed. I've ranked pages in the top 3 for, or whatever, even some of them number 1 for highly competitive keywords, and even those articles were taking months to get indexed.
Yeah, It's shocking. So the funny thing is, right? Years and years and years ago, I used to absolutely troll Matt Cutts. Not in a horrible way, but Matt Cutts, he was a legend. Like, he was a really good guy. He had a lot of character. And I used to spend years not trolling him negatively, but he would publish stuff. Like, he announced when they did the EMD update, and they basically said, no, we're no longer going to give favourable weighting to exact match domains. So the first thing that I did was I went out and brought an exact match domain. It was www.teaching-abroad.co.uk. And then, obviously, they went through Panda, Penguin, Hummingbird. Then what I did was, on one of the updates, they were like, it was a link quality update many, many years ago. I think it was like 2011, 2012. So I've got this domain, and I basically had lorem ipsum dolet amet text all over it on teachingabroad.co.uk, and then I used shed loads of FFA links, PBNs, link farms, forum spam. I got it to #1 in Google for teaching abroad as an EMD with loads of link spam. And then as soon as Matt Cutts used to post this on Twitter, I used to just take a snapshot of the SERP with my site, and I used to paste it to him. But at the time, that just shows you, that can't have been more than 10 to 12 years ago, but Google had no concept of content. Like, we were talking keyword density still, we were talking about maybe there was some latent parts of the algo that could better understand some form of context, but Google couldn't decipher what was good and bad content anywhere near what it does now. And when you look at, Rank Brain and the evolution, Google BERT, now Google is so adept at understanding the context of content. So I think combine the artificial intelligence that Google is currently using, and then you cross-compare that against Google's policy of, why should I index content if it looks low value? That's the thing that will stop ChatGPT being abused, because people will abuse it, and they'll realise that actually they've put all this content there, it's not getting indexed, and then they'll get bored of it and go away. What do you think?
Just remember this: SEOs ruin everything, and that is going to continue.
Are we shifting all of the mayhem away from links now to content?
That's pretty, both of them, I would say, if you're a true SEO, you're experimenting with both of those things. But yeah, I'm like, personally, like, I run SEO Notebook and I've got a following. I've been approached by many AI tools to promote and do affiliate for AI, but I have held off of doing that because I don't feel good about people thinking, hey, Steve Toth does this is an easy win, let's create a whole site with nothing but AI content. I've got a site with nothing but AI content in my Google Search Console that's gone untouched, and I've seen it go like this, right? So I personally am not willing to put my name on that and endorse that full force. I know that there are people who are doing it the right way, adding facts to their AI articles, adding quotes to their AI articles, making them into real pieces. But I don't trust everybody to do that. And most people are just going to say, hey, Steve's promoting Jarvis or Wright Sonic or whoever. Let's just do that. Like he's, I trust him. Let's just do that. So I've personally not gone that route.
Which is really good. You're not selling your reputation for some silver.
Yeah.
Which I also think is really important, because it's for an SEO. So the SEO industry, right, must have 10x in the last 3 years. Like maybe 10x is a massive understatement. So with this massive influx of people coming in, everyone obviously, wants to get ahead of the curve. But if you look at the SEO community as a whole, okay, You do get a lot of people that will sell themselves out for a sponsor, and that's not bad. If the sponsor is something that you can genuinely use in the right way, great. But obviously,
Yeah,
as you
like
say,
I'm sponsored by Ahrefs, and I'm an Ahrefs user, right? And like, if
yeah,
anybody asks me to advertise on SEO Notebook, I'm like, okay, well, let me try your product first. There's nothing wrong with
mm,
that, right? But I think it's just like, giving. You have to be, as a so-called influencer or whatever. You got to realize people just like I put myself in it, like I go back 8 years, and I'm thinking like, these are the people that I follow. I've got an SEO question. They say one thing. I'm just going to trust what they say, right? Like, so people who don't have a network, right, of skilled people around them that they can, go and ask questions to, they just think like, who are the people that I follow? What do they say? I'm sure you get it all the time. People give you this big, long, drawn out question in your LinkedIn DMs and be like, what should I do? They're literally banking on you to solve their problem. I just say,
yeah.
look, I don't want to be responsible for, giving you an off the cuff answer. Better ask this question in a group like SEO Signals Lab on Facebook.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good way of doing it. I mean, I I do love helping people, and I like I try to use LinkedIn as a vehicle. It's not about just building a following for me. I really enjoy it when people come back to me and they say, "Hi Dan, I did this. It's worked wonders." I mean, since I started SEO-audits.io, I've delivered over 100 audits in the last year, and I've helped businesses that were decimated by Google core updates, by botched migrations, to recover. And I get the MD sending me a message saying, "Dan, what's your address? I want to send you a gift to say thank you." And it's so so unbelievably rewarding. But I think like with the way that SEO is now, if you're really good at what you do, um, I don't see. I see automation as just accelerating how much you can get done. I mean, you've been building something called G Score. Do you want to share a little bit of information about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll give just like a quick history on it. So I initially wanted to, I'm really big on using Google Search Console data to enrich your content. Basically, the
Yeah,
idea is if you've got something striking distance on the top of page 2 or bottom of page 1, or hey, maybe even beyond that, and you haven't mentioned that keyword or that topic on your page yet, by virtue of adding that, you're just naturally going to increase your rank. Like, it's intuitive,
yeah,
right? You're not there 1 minute, you're there the next minute. Your article is already ranking for that. You're going to improve your rankings. So I've been really big on this idea. I optimize my pages in several stages, right? I release it. Maybe I add some entities to it using some different various on-page tools. Could be Phrase Surfer, on-page AI. Have your pick. And then also by the time those new pages have been live for a little while, 3 to 6 months, they've started to gather impressions in Google Search Console data, and then I update my content using that. So I'll share my screen and just run you
go for
through
it.
a specific report so you can get a first-hand idea of how this is going to look. So this is a site called carpages.ca, and you can see that they've got like a bunch of pages, and the higher this dollar value, the more unused high CPC keywords there are. So the first thing that the script will do is it will pull a certain amount of keywords or more. So in this case, I believe it's 5 or more keywords. And then it's not just going to check the content of this page here, which is about the topic is about the most reliable cars of all time. It's not just going to check to see if this specific keyword is going to be contained, but it's going to check each one of these keywords. So it's going to check for most reliable car ever and built. And then if it notices that one of those keywords is unique, in this case built, it's going to mark that as a unique keyword. And then it's going to also group together all the other keywords that we're ranking for that were similar. So what is the most reliable engine that's ever built? What is the most reliable, sturdy car ever built, etc. Right? So all those keywords are going to be neatly grouped together, and we're not going to see multiple rows of similar keywords. All of these are going to be, fairly unique. So you can see in this case the word history, built, and forever. What cars to avoid, like the plague. What all-wheel drive cars are the most reliable. All these are going to basically be used, right? So the other thing that we can kind of do, and what we're this is an older version of the report, but in newer versions, we're actually, like you mentioned, filtering out those ones that are, one impression, two impressions, and not really that valuable. But what we also do is for the average position is for the last, we pull all the keywords for like a 16-month period or a 12-month period. And then we pull another date range of just 7 days, and then try to get the average position for the last 7 days. And then if that keyword is not found, we'll go 7 days back and 7 days back. And then eventually we'll widen that time period. But basically what we want to do is try to get the most accurate average position. And then once you have the keywords that you want to add to your content, let's say it's these ones right here, I can go into a tool that I launched called the SEO Notebook extension. It's a Google Docs add-on, and then I can press start here, and then I'm going to just paste those keywords into my dialog box here. It's going to scan this article that I have in here for a bunch of keywords, and it's going to now pop those keywords on the right-hand side. So now if I want to write something like one of those keywords, cars built to last forever, that keyword is now going to highlight green, and then I know that I've integrated that Google Search Console keyword into my content. Obviously, I'm training writers to use these things effectively, like sometimes put them in H2s and then write some content underneath them. But in general, this tool is really useful in adding those keywords to your content.
That's fantastic. So people will be able to save a lot of time and obviously take advantage of keywords. I mean, the fact that you've got CPC there is so important, and it's one of the things in any SEO strategy where if you're focusing on optimizing for something, CPC is generally a very good indicator of potential conversion value. Do you think? Because if people are willing to pay $10-20 a click, then clearly there's going to be some conversion value behind it that will prompt people that are happy to spend that kind of money. So this is a good opportunity for people to capitalize on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is just a blog right now for a car website, but imagine running this for a personal injury lawyer and you've got $100 CPCs for missing keywords here. It's quite valuable.
That is absolutely crazy. So how do people get this? Do they just go to SEOnotebook.com?
Right now, it's not a mass market product, because honestly, people don't have to have a certain level of knowledge to implement this. So I'm not just letting people order them. It's a custom project. So just contact me if you want a report run, and then I can work out pricing based on the size of your site, right? Because if I run this on a site that is brand new, it's not going to be valuable at all. But if I run this on a content heavy site, this is literally worth its weight in gold. So you can also use this tool with ChatGPT, which I can just show you a use case as well. So if I activate the extension again, I've asked ChatGPT right now to write me an article, write me a paragraph about best mortgage rates. So I can then, paste that article into Google Docs. And then I asked it to list the entities in that paragraph in bullet point format. So now if I put in those into here, theoretically they should pop up. Yeah, okay. In this case, it has actually missed the keyword loan terms, and but it has included these other ones, right? So let's say you are wanting to make you want to take this AI article and humanize it, right? You can use this tool to maintain the sort of entity integrity, let's call it, and then have the writer write around these entities, and by the time they're done humanizing this article, maybe adding some quotes or rewriting some of the more clunky sentences, they're going to still be able to maintain all those entities in this paragraph, and then just write it with a human touch.
That's fantastic. See, this is the value of, technically you're building an automation, right? Because you're taking pre-existing data, and obviously it helps to speed things up so that people include it as opposed to having to do guesswork. So in terms of like automation, it's really interesting because obviously I think people that really want to develop their skills and obviously stay in line with the trends needs to look at ChatGPT in a way, or not even just ChatGPT, just bringing automation to SEO is obviously a great way to better process data and make decisions, right? Like I spent years using something called search analytics for sheets. I don't know if you've ever used that.
Yeah.
And actually, it brings me on to a lot of people obviously have heard me bring up SEO Stack quite a lot. It primarily, for me, SEO Stack was something that I started primarily because I wanted a way of working with big data. So with the way that SEO is going at the minute, right, in terms of like AI content, in terms of we've now got spam brain for links. So before I delve into SEO Stack, it's actually really interesting to bring up spam brain, because spam brain is like their first connotation of AI for link detection. I'm fairly sure spam brain is the latest link update where they're actually fully integrating AI now into link detection. Have you seen anything around that?
No, actually, that one's not. I mean, I don't think. How much has Google really talked about that one?
Not a lot, but they made it clear because they had rank brain and now they've got spam brain. So we know that they're using the brain term as part of their AI rollout. Because I know prior to rank brain, obviously we had content updates that had EAT medic, but the integration of AI, I think, is allowing Google to be a lot more intelligent about what it indexes. That's one of the things I think with rank brain that they incorporated, not just quality signals, but I know, because if we look at it, right, okay, a couple of years ago, do you remember Google used to be, you could select 100 results per page? Do you remember that?
Yeah. Now it's default, right?
Yeah, now it's default. And then you used to be able to go 100 pages in pagination. Then it went to 50. Now it's 30. I think it's 30. And what's becoming clear now is that from a SEO point of view, or from an indexing point of view, does it make sense to index 1 million pages for a query if the probability of half of those pages never being served is there?
Yeah, true. Like, and also the world's information is such that every question, unless it's newly emerging, has a good answer anyway.
Yeah. So
Really,
on that basis, okay, what I decided to do was, so obviously you've developed G Score. I set out to build SEO Stack, and the funny thing is that when I built SEO Stack, it was never supposed to be a tool that I was going to take to market. What I was going to build was a tool that I could use to help me with my audits. So one of the biggest fallacies in SEO, and I still think this is a fallacy, but obviously everyone's entitled to their own opinion. If you are an SEO and you are using SEMrush and you're not using Search Console, that to me is a big problem, because I get people saying to me, that they've looked at SEMrush and they can see the keyword counts and organic traffic projection, and I'm like, why wouldn't you look at Search Console?
oh,
You've
dude,
got
I had a client that complained to me that their traffic was flat in SEMrush, and then I looked in Google Search Console, and it's going up into the right. So,
that's what I mean, and it's like, so I advocate people using Search Console, but one of the biggest problems with Search Console is the data limitations, and I actually used to. And not to put myself down, but I actually used to tell people that Google didn't give you all of the data that they held on your site, because it would give you a better insight into how Google was treating content, and it would help you manipulate rank. And I was completely wrong, and I hold my hands up to that. So the reason that Search Console only gives you 1,000 rows of keywords, 1,000 rows of page data, is, well, there's two key reasons now that I've learned, and correct me if I'm wrong. The first one is, number one, if Google gave you all of the rows, if Google's got more than 1 billion sites in its index, right, and let's say 750 million sites have got 100,000 rows of data, the processing power that Google needs to process all that data would be monstrous. That's the first. And the second part is that, why would they give you the data for free when they can sell it to you over API?
yeah. Well, the Google Search Console API is free,
So
but
BigQuery.
yeah, BigQuery, like, when you're basically not paying to store the data, but actually paying to access it. Um, uh, the one way I think you can get around that and get more useful data when you use the API is to query it with regex, right? So don't just ask it for the top 1,000 keywords. Ask it for the top 1,000 keywords that have question modifiers, or ask it for the top 1,000 keywords that have 4 or more words, or things that you can rank more easily, right? Then you'll get more data. I know that Ahrefs, as much as I love them, released a study that said X number of data, this amount of data is missing from your Google Search Console reports. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, there is data missing, but if you've looked in there, you realize still how much gold there isn't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll show you SEO Stack really quickly. I shared my screen. I did a podcast yesterday. I shared my screen, but it was really small. Um, I don't know if it's small just on the recording. I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping at least. Hold on. Let me see if I can make this
Well, if
bigger.
people are watching this on their mobile phone, surely it's going to be small, but
So what happens if I click this? Maybe that'll make it a little bit better. So I'll touch on this briefly. I won't go into it too long. So I built SEO Stack because I wanted Search Console without all of the limitations. So SEO Stack will get the last 16 months of data from the day that you add it, and then every day it runs a cron to get that day's worth of data, and it appends it. So if you've got 16 months of data, and let's say you use SEO Stack for a year, you'll have 16 plus 12 months. So you'll have 28 months of data. And this will allow you to better understand your site's history. You'll be able to access all of the information. And believe you me, people say, well, you don't really need beyond 16 months. But actually, if you're looking at things like historic penalties, losses, actually you do. I'm doing an SEO audit at the minute on a site called All Nurses, and they got hit by Google Medic update in August 2018, and they've never recovered since. Okay, because of UGC and all the rest of it. So something like this would have been brilliant. But so in SEO Stack, we can see here, I've selected from the first data point. Okay, so this is more than 16 months of data. And you can see here, there are 12,927 keywords. So from your experience, how many of these could I access the Search Console?
Top 1,000 per page, right?
Top 1,000. In here, every time I click this, I get the next 1,000. So I can access all 12,000 keywords in a Search Console-like interface. I'm not having to use a G sheet to pull the keywords into a Excel sheet style of format. I've got an interface so I can interact with all of the data. And then on top of that, one of the pain points that I know a lot of SEOs have is not being able to apply multiple filters at the same time. So I could do queries containing, and bear in mind, this is set for like, however long ago that is. It's more than 16 months worth of data. And, you know, it can be a little bit slow at the minute. So I've applied query contains. I can now do query, and then I can do not containing at the same time. If I want to layer 10 filters on, I can. I don't know why Search Console doesn't have the ability to do that. I don't know why it's really annoying.
I just want Search Console to run properly on Chrome-based browsers right now because it's not.
Oh, it's really bad. Yeah, really.
To switch to Safari.
It's been really, really slow. So in here, you can interact with this exactly like you would Search Console. The difference is we're building things over the top of it. So if you want to like just see your normal data, that's fine. You know, if you want to see algo updates over the top, so you can see algo updates. We're actually going to split this. We're going to have two sliders. We're going to have confirmed updates and unconfirmed updates so that people can switch between what they see. Nice. We've got pages, countries, devices, and we're about to add search appearance data in here as well. And you can export to queries, pages, queries and page, CSV or PDF. But one thing actually that I think is really important, and a lot of people have seen me mention this, is that from an SEO perspective, and believe you me, we'll integrate ChatGPT into this. And I talk a lot about this. SEO testing. So all of the years that I've been doing SEO, one thing that I've noticed that so many people never really have an answer for is if I go to an SEO and I have a chat and they say to me, oh, you know, I'm working on this site, it's losing traffic, you know, I'm trying to like fix the site, sort the content out. And then I say to them, if you update your content to fix the page that's in decline, how are you going to know if that content has done a good job? And they look at me like, what are you asking that for? It's obvious, isn't it? Rank and keywords, rank and traffic. So I say, right, okay, so you've got a page on your site. It had 100 clicks a day. It's now down to 10 clicks a day after 16 months of being in decline. So you tell me that you're going to rewrite the content of that page and you're going to measure the success of that content by rank and traffic. They say, yeah. I say, so if it took you 16 months to lose this traffic, okay, how long do you think it's going to take you to get that traffic back? I don't know. So I say to them, what you can do, and this is why I bang on about it all the time, the frequency that a piece of content is served can be used as a quality indicator, because the general premise is that if Google doesn't see value in the content, it will be served less and less and less. Okay, so the premise is that if you judge something that you do based upon how much it's served. If you fix content and Google starts serving it more, you're looking at the recovery pre-click. And that's one of the reasons why I put so much effort into this, because not only can I ascertain how much weight a page has, I can also see if a page slips, whether it's slippage or devaluation. So if we update a client's piece of content, I can then start tracking, is that having a positive impact? So one of the things, right, so we can see here that this bifold doors page, it looks like it suffered a bit between an update, but we can see that the overall trajectory is down. So I might go to the client and say, look, we're gonna redo the content. Okay, so we'll use in links or surfer phrase. Then what we can do is we can say, okay, so we can say renovated content, the old draft copy of the content can be found here, paste the link. So what I always do is, like, I'll take the page that is going into the client, I'll clone it, put the clone in draft, so it's not there, but we've got a backup copy. Then I'll put a link to the backup copy. Then I'll put uploaded new content as per this writing brief. Okay, I'll then paste the URL to the writing brief. Then now we use in links, but we're going to make it so that you can basically select whatever content tool you've used. So you might have Fraser or stuff. And then what you can do is you can put in your new score. So you can say, well, the score is now 90. You can take snapshots of data and then you can tick what you did. So we can say content optimization revamp. We can select when we did it. So we can say November, and then we can just put my name. Okay, that will now log that change against this URL. And if I now select this, it should show the annotation.
Your screen is frozen, by the way. It's frozen on something like a please wait screen right now.
Oh yeah, no, it takes a minute just to like recount all of the data.
Yeah, oh no, I get it. Yeah, it's a lot of data.
Okay, so if we look now,
like typing something.
So if we look now, we can see the annotation line. So I can say the client, okay, I can say to the client, look, this page. So I actually didn't see that in the past the page was weaker, and it's actually done better through 2022. But we can set annotations, and then SEO Stack will monitor to see if there's been any change, any impact. The interesting thing that we can do as well is if you look at the bottom, we can see view. If we click view, we can see the queries for that month, and we can export them, and we can compare as well. But the benefit to this is that if people are working on different pages, we can then benchmark what the impact of those changes are, but we're not doing it by traditional SEO tools that work on clicks. We're doing it on volume of queries served. And so far, it's been massively successful. And it's also been really helpful when I'm doing an audit of a site. What I can do is I can look at the whole site in quick succession, and all of the pages on a site that aren't served frequently, we can compare them against age. So when we do a content audit, we can rapidly speed up the content audit process. So what I mean by that is if we go down to where the query count's really low, okay, so I can see these URLs here, 9 queries in something that is 548 days old. So what's that, 1.5 years, something like that. So to be served 9 times in 1.5 years basically means the page is dead. Mm-hmm. So it's very quick and easy, and because obviously we're pulling in internal link counts, referring domain counts, we're going to pull in, and we're going to pull in other metrics. We can quickly see pages that are orphaned, pages that are misaligned in terms of intent, and all the rest of it. Anyway, I don't want to spend the whole call promoting this, but this is one of the reasons, and I think a lot of SEOs now are looking for ways to not only automate SEO, but really speed up data analysis. What pain points do you think are biggest from an SEO perspective in terms of, like, in an SEO strategy? If you're doing consulting for, I don't know, a large publication, where do you see the biggest pain points in terms of, you go in, you audit and see loads of content dead? What do you think the biggest pain points from there onwards are?
From working with a site, like going into a site and trying to, revitalize it, a site that's been
Yeah,
hurt.
yeah,
Yeah, good question. So you've got to, there's not an easy way for us to check, which pages are going to be relevant to a site. If a site has a bunch of irrelevant pages and perhaps diluting some of its topical authority, that's a very manual process right now. I think, you can look at what keywords aren't getting clicks or impressions, or what pages aren't getting clicks or impressions, and start to weed stuff out from there on. But one of the things that I'm doing with automation right now, and just testing it with my developer, is creating a tool that checks to see how, on a page level, if there are any excerpts that are fluff. So basically what it's doing is checking Search Console queries against the actual content, almost creating a bit of a heat map on the actual content, and then looking for those areas where there's like big gaps and there's pieces of content that aren't serving the rankings. So like,
yeah.
that type of analysis can't be done without automation. So yeah, I guess it's content pruning on the site level and on the page level as well. Could be a pain point for me. Working with obviously, like, if the developers are not, if the site, let's say for example, has like just absolutely abominable page speed or core web vitals metrics that are way below the threshold cutoffs, and the client is not able to action on those, that can be super frustrating. When there are cannibalization issues from content managers that didn't know what they were doing, it's oftentimes like a big mess that you need to untangle. All those things, I think, are big challenges when taking on a site that has been in decline.
So one of the things that I'm doing is, with that in mind, so that the development of SEO Stack is really going to be multifaceted, in that what I'm trying to do is take external processes or things that cause a problem, and I'm trying to merge that with Search Console data. So for example, what I'm looking to do is, with the stack, because SEO Stack is working with BigQuery and it works on every piece of data on your site, we can then compute that data to basically find all of the dead content that is just not going to rank in seconds. So it then becomes a case of, okay, well, is the content important? Is it auxiliary content, so it has to stay on the site with just no index follow it? Or is it content that just adds no value to the site and should be removed? So these things are already being built in, right? So this site here, I've literally just selected anything that's dead. And what we do is we look at the correlation between how old something is, then we look at zero click, low impressions, and then low query counts. If you combine those things together, and the page has been in the index for 500, 600 days, then we can make the assertion that that content is unlikely to ever go anywhere. So what I'm looking to do is bring a lot of pain points for SEOs in one roof, and then to make sure that any decisions that are made on the back of actual data. So SEMrush is great, but it's projection data. Search Console should be our go-to place, And if you've got a tool like SEO Stack where you're no longer limited by 1,000 query rows, 1,000 URL rows, you're no longer limited by how much data you can get. And then on top of that, if we can say a page has got 100 queries, then when we generate an LP brief, we can basically use Search Console data and make sure that the brief is more accurate. One other thing that we literally just launched. Do you remember, like years ago, you put a URL into a keyword cloud generator?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what we've done, I've got a bit of echo now with feedback. I don't know if that's me. What we've done is we generate keyword cloud now, but we do it from Search Console data. So this looks at the frequency of partial match terms and exact match terms, and then it will change the size depending on the frequency. So we know that this is not drawn from the text, but drawn from what it's served in GSC.
Yep.
Now we're going to have like export, and we're going to have send to NLP brief and all the rest of it. Like the minute, we're working on the building out the NLP tools and cannibalization detection to help. But again, this all forms like part of a bigger picture. So if someone wants to improve a URL on their site, they can come in here. They can literally, if they want to override the keywords, because obviously we default to lead queried by click or impression, you can override that, select your target country, and click done. And that will now go and run a content audit. So I guess because I know a few SEOs that build tools. Obviously, you've been building G-Score. You built something before it, didn't you?
I've built a lot of tools with my Python developers, over the years, and that's like one of the main things that I think has enabled me to take my consulting practice really to the next level. Is like in my first year, I would have said that and this is a bit of a tangent, but in the first year, I would say advanced spreadsheets were the name of the game, and then beyond that, it's like Python developer 20 hours per week. let's see how what a journey we can send her on, and she's been amazing to me, and I just love working with doing that rapid iteration. That's the one thing that I noticed working with a Python developer, which is so much better for a person like me who has a lot of ideas and honestly changes his mind, and has needs to kind of go through the process and test and different solutions and seeing what produces the best outputs. Working with a Python developer, you have so much more freedom than you would trying to develop a tool. So kudos to you and being able to get your thoughts sort of synthesized, and you're not causing too much of a high bill. I know that you've spent a lot of money on this already, but if you're not careful, you can spend even more, right?
Yeah. I think the thing is that I've been obviously talking about this for a while. Yesterday, another 50 people registered their interest. So I'm on 1,050 people are registered that they want to join the platform. I could have released it by now, but as I mentioned earlier, for me, if I'm going to launch, I need to launch with a larger portion of the stack ready, because it's very easy for people to sign up to a tool and then it's not very long before they don't really use that tool anymore, or it's not whereas people go back to Ahrefs and SEMrush all the time because there's so much data, and it's almost like a standard part of an SEO stack. So they're going to use it even if they don't enjoy it, or even if they it's not a key part of their regime. People typically tend to keep SEMrush and Ahrefs running. So from my point of view, if someone signs up to SEO Stack and they've got all the advanced Search Console data, they've got NLP content tools, they've got data analysis tools, when the stack is at a point where someone can come in and they can integrate it into their daily workflow, then it becomes indisposable. Then it becomes something that, won't have a high churn rate. I can scale the MRR. I mean, it's going to take me a while to get the money back, of course, but it's not just about the money as well. Like, I'm using this for my clients and I'm using it for auditing, and it's rapidly speeding up how much I can get done. And I think this all blends into the wider conversation that SEO in 2023, 2024 is fully about self-branding, building your skills, really refining your processes, integrating automation to take away maybe legacy tasks that were a lot slower in the past. And I think I want to provide a platform. Yes, this is an AI, but, there's nothing to stop us using ChatGPT's AI in this, where we could say, well, look, we take a URL, we take all of the keywords that we've got, then we can do some computation with ChatGPT. So, the possibilities are really endless. And I think, it's going to be exciting. So, obviously, we don't go on for too long because I am conscious of time. If I was to say to you, for 2023, what do you think this year we'll see happen with search? Do you think we'll see Google maybe retaliate a bit more to ChatGPT? Do you think that they will bring something forward? What are your thoughts of this year?
I feel like Google, we don't know how they're going to react to ChatGPT, but one thing I do know is that they're going to use their data. They're not just going to be like knee-jerk, oh, hey, we must put this chat dialog box into Google search. If it notices that its numbers are being affected, then it is going to slowly make changes. But you don't become Google over the course of 20 some odd years and then just suddenly change your product because something comes along and all the people who are manipulating your algorithm are nuts about it, right? Like, so I feel like we're going to, mark my words, like I may be wrong, but I think we're going to baby step into this for Google. Maybe they replace some top of funnel queries that aren't showing ads with this type of technology. But I do feel like, they will be cautious and making sure that none of this impacts the number of ads that are going to be served. At the same time, that's going to affect us and affect, potentially, let's say you're a content website and you rely on, a bunch of featured snippets to get your people clicking through to your page, and Google has already hurt you by creating many zero-click searches and featured snippets and whatnot. Those are, I think, probably going to be affected first, but how soon that is, we don't know.
Very interesting points. So we're nearly 1 hour, 20 minutes in, so we'll wrap up. I really, really do appreciate you having taken the time to come on here, given how busy you are. So really do appreciate it. So for anyone that's watching this, check out Steve's SEO Notebook site at seonotebook.com. And if you want to look him up on LinkedIn as Steve Toth, or on Facebook. That's if you're okay for people to do that. But honestly, thank you so much. Really do appreciate your time. And for anyone else, my name is Daniel Foley Carter, and if you want to visit our site, it's SEO-audits.io. So, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining the show, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Bye. Right, I've just saved that. So.